Hey there.
Hey.
Today we're going to take a deep dive into the life of Sheikh al-Bara Ibrahim.
Oh, okay.
He's an imam at a mosque in Oxford,
Oh, okay.
and we have this incredible Arabic language podcast interview where he kind of shares his whole journey with Islam.
Oh, wow.
Some pretty captivating experiences too.
What's really interesting about the Sheikh story is that he bridges this world of traditional Islamic scholarship with, the modern realities of Muslim communities in the West. So he's really lived and breathed both.
He has, yeah.
Giving him a truly unique perspective, I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think so too. And we're going to hear all about that journey.
Yeah.
His upbringing in Egypt, his deep dive into Quranic studies, and how he's kind of navigated all the challenges and opportunities that Muslims face today.
Yeah.
And you'll hear some amazing stories too.
I can imagine.
So be prepared.
I'm excited.
I'm ready to share
Yeah,
all this with you.
I think you'll be amazed by his insights on education.
That's right. Community building and, all of the adaptations Muslim communities are making in the West.
For sure. For sure.
Yeah.
Okay, let's unpack all this.
Okay.
This journey starts in Egypt with a family deeply rooted in the Al-Azhar tradition.
Right.
Now, this is a renowned center of Islamic learning.
I know of it, yeah.
And his father actually didn't attend Al-Azhar himself.
Okay.
But he was determined that his sons would carry on that legacy.
Oh, wow. That's interesting.
The scholarship.
It's a testament to the importance of tradition and legacy within Islamic scholarship, because it's not just about, individual pursuits.
Right.
It's about carrying forward generations of knowledge and faith.
I love that.
Yeah.
So at the young age of 5,
Wow.
the Sheikh starts his Quranic education.
5. That's incredible.
Can you imagine starting that young?
I can't.
He even talked about how much he struggled to reconcile his everyday Arabic dialect with the classical Arabic of the Quran.
Oh, yeah.
Like learning a new language. That's a huge hurdle, isn't it?
It is.
It highlights how important language is
Right.
to truly grasp the Quran's meaning.
For sure.
Yeah.
But he persevered, and by the age of 10,
Oh, wow.
he'd memorized the entire Quran,
That's amazing.
which is incredible. But get this.
What?
His Al-Azhar elementary school
Okay.
expected students to memorize the Quran every single year.
What, every year?
Every year.
Wow.
Can you imagine the level of discipline?
That's remarkable.
It's mind-blowing.
It shows you how integral the Quran is to
Right.
the Al-Azhar system.
Yes.
It's not just rote learning, but it's woven into their lives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the stories about his Quranic teachers are unbelievable.
Oh, I bet.
He spoke so fondly
Yeah.
of Sheikh Ibrahim Abu Ismail, who was a blind teacher
Wow.
who treated the sheikh and his brother like family.
Oh.
This teacher would even set up these Quranic competitions.
Oh, wow.
He would go so far as to bribe the judges to make sure that the boys would win.
Oh, that's too funny.
That's a dedicated teacher.
He went above and beyond.
He did.
It reminds me of how special that bond can be
Yes.
between student and teacher
Yes.
in the Quranic tradition.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then there's Sheikh Abdul Razak Abu Fatih.
Okay.
Now, he was renowned for his incredible memory. He could listen to 3 students reciting different parts of the Quran simultaneously
What?
and catch any mistake.
Oh, my goodness.
Almost superhuman.
It's like a superpower.
It is.
Yeah, it shows you how incredible the human mind can be
It does.
when it comes to the Quran.
It really does. And hold on tight, because
Right.
there's more.
Oh, there's more.
After memorizing the Quran twice,
Jeez.
the sheikh decides to do it again a 3rd time.
Wow.
But this time,
Yeah.
seeking an even deeper level of understanding.
Oh, wow.
So he meticulously reviewed each section 60 times.
60.
60.
That's incredible.
He even talked about waking up in a panic sometimes,
Oh, no.
fearing that he'd forgotten parts of the Quran. The dedication is just remarkable.
That's true. Dedication.
It is?
When you're that committed
Yeah.
to internalizing it,
Yeah.
it's inspiring.
It is inspiring.
Yeah.
And his commitment doesn't stop there.
Okay.
He went on to earn these advanced Quranic certifications
Oh, wow.
called ijaza,
Okay.
which validated his mastery of these different Quranic reading styles,
Oh, wow.
known as rawaya.
Okay.
It's basically like achieving the highest level
Right.
of expertise in the field.
Yeah. I mean, these certifications are a testament
Yeah.
to the incredible depth and nuance of the Quran.
Yeah.
I mean, each style has its own intricate rules and traditions.
Exactly.
So it's not just one way to recite it.
Right.
It's this tapestry of oral transmission over centuries.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so picture this.
Okay.
You have this young man completely immersed in Quranic knowledge,
Right.
and now he steps into the formal Al-Azhar education system,
Right.
starting with middle school.
This is a whole new chapter for him. He's going from this very focused,
Yes.
intensive Quranic memorization to a broader academic world.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And here he's introduced to Islamic jurisprudence, or fiqh,
Okay.
which is the study of Islamic law.
Right.
And he vividly described his excitement
Oh, wow.
at finally getting answers to these questions about Islamic practices that had puzzled him since he was a child.
Oh, wow.
I love that.
Yeah, it's like that natural human curiosity,
Yes.
wanting to know the why,
The why.
behind the traditions.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I love that.
Yeah.
He even shared this story about his captivating fiqh teacher, Mr. Muhammad,
Okay.
who held the entire class spellbound with his lectures.
Wow.
Like the classroom was so silent that even the slightest noise would disrupt everyone's focus.
It makes you realize the power of a great teacher.
Doesn't it?
How they can bring a subject to life.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay, so now in Al-Azhar, high school students had to choose
Okay.
between a science or literature track. Any guesses which way they leaned?
I mean, considering their background, I'd say literature.
You'd be right.
Right.
But the sheikh decided to try the science track.
Oh, wow.
He chose biology.
Okay.
And you know what he said?
What?
He said he struggled to even visualize the life cycle of a worm.
That's funny.
It is pretty funny.
It's a good lesson, though, right?
What's that?
Knowing what you're good at
Yes.
and choosing the right path for you.
Yeah, it was a good lesson learned.
Exactly.
So back to familiar territory he went.
Okay.
He returned to literature and eventually specialized in Shafi jurisprudence.
Oh, wow.
Now, this is one of the four main schools of thought
Yeah.
within Sunni Islam.
Yeah.
His brother actually opted for the Hanafi school.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Even within the same family,
Yeah.
different approaches.
Isn't that interesting?
I love that.
It just shows you how even within the same family, there can be these diverse interpretations
Absolutely.
and approaches to Islamic law.
That's what's so fascinating about Islamic jurisprudence.
It is.
It's dynamic and ever-evolving.
It is.
And it's a beautiful thing.
It is. And he pointed out, too, these geographic connections
Oh, yeah.
associated with these schools of thought. So, for example, the Shafi'i school is prevalent in the Nile Delta region of Egypt,
Right.
where he grew up.
So it's tied to his roots.
It is.
It's amazing how knowledge is so connected to where we come from.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Now, here's a little fascinating tidbit for you.
Okay.
Back then,
Yeah.
Al-Azhar High School was a 4-year program,
Oh, wow.
a whole year longer than the standard 3 years in the general Egyptian education system.
That's intense.
That's intense.
Wow, it shows their commitment
Yes.
to academic rigor.
Yes.
Al-Azhar students are expected to really master their field,
They are.
not just to acquire knowledge.
Yeah.
That's a great foundation.
It is.
Yeah.
And speaking of university, it's his brother who plants this seed that changes everything.
Oh, really?
So his brother's 2 years older, already a student himself,
Okay.
and they're just having a casual chat.
Yeah.
And his brother suggests
Yeah.
that the sheikh consider studying Islamic studies in English
Oh, wow.
at the Faculty of Languages and Translation.
So this is opening up a whole new path
It is.
for him.
It is.
Wow.
Now, the sheikh was a little hesitant.
Oh, I bet.
Despite his vast Quranic knowledge,
Yeah.
he had scored a 34 out of 60 on his high school English exam.
Oh, dear.
And that was after putting in a lot of effort.
I can understand his hesitation.
Yeah.
It's daunting to immerse yourself
Right.
in a new language,
Absolutely.
especially university.
Especially at university.
Yeah.
But here's where his determination shines through.
Okay.
He decides to go for it.
Oh, wow.
So picture this.
Okay.
The sheikh arrives for his first day
Mm-hmm.
at the Faculty of Languages and Translation,
Yeah.
stepping into a world vastly different
Yeah.
than his Al-Azhar background.
That's a huge change.
It is.
Yeah.
And he walks into a classroom,
Okay.
and the professor, an expert in American theater
Okay.
from the University of California, is lecturing
Mm-hmm.
entirely in English.
Oh, wow.
The sheikh admitted that he didn't understand a single word
No way.
for the first hour and 45 minutes.
I can only imagine how disorienting that must felt.
Right.
What a culture shock.
It was.
Yeah.
But he didn't let that deter him.
Okay.
He and his classmates, all from these traditional Al-Azhar backgrounds, were thrown into this entirely different environment.
Yeah.
It's incredible how quickly they adapted.
I know. To this new way of learning.
Right.
The brain's incredible.
It is.
Isn't it?
It is.
It just soaks up language when it's immersed in.
It does.
Yeah.
And the language challenges didn't stop at English.
Oh, really?
The curriculum included a second language.
Oh, wow.
German in his case.
Wow.
Can you imagine?
That's a lot to handle.
It is.
2 new languages.
No.
And Islamic studies. He must be so cognitively flexible.
He is.
That's amazing.
It is.
Yeah.
But those 5 years at the university were truly transformative for him.
I bet.
He talked about how his professors, many of whom had firsthand experience working in the West, really opened their eyes to these real-world issues facing Muslim communities.
That's so important.
Isn't it?
Yeah, to go beyond the theoretical and talk about the actual lived experiences of Muslims in the West.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he even mentioned a specific course on dawah in the West, taught by someone with extensive experience working with Muslim communities across America.
Oh, wow.
And he emphasized that hands-on approach to the course. Like, how do you actually apply Islamic principles to these real-life scenarios?
I think that's a reflection of a growing awareness that we need to bridge the gap between traditional teachings and the realities of Muslims in the West.
I think so, too. Yeah. So it makes you wonder, what career path would someone with a degree in Islamic studies from the Faculty of Languages and Translation pursue?
I mean, it seems like it could be a lot of things. It could go into academia. He could become a religious leader, translation, maybe even tech.
Believe it or not, he actually worked as a localization engineer for Microsoft back in 2009.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He described his role as adapting software interfaces and commands from English to Arabic.
Oh, that's interesting.
Making technology more accessible to a wider audience.
Yeah, it shows you how important those language skills are.
They are.
Especially in our interconnected world.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But his true calling was elsewhere.
Yeah.
In 2010, he applied for a position as an imam with the Egyptian Ministry of Religious Endowments, also known as Awqaf.
Okay.
And get this.
What?
There were 45,000 applicants.
Wow.
Vying for 3,500 positions.
Wow, that's a lot of competition. It shows the importance of religious leadership in Egypt.
Yes.
That's incredible.
And he was selected.
Good for him.
He described it as an invaluable experience.
Yeah.
Where he really honed his skills in understanding and addressing the diverse needs of his congregation.
Yeah.
He used this great analogy. He said, the imam is like a sponge.
A sponge.
Absorbing the concerns and questions of the community and then offering guidance and solutions.
That's a great analogy.
Isn't it?
Yeah, it really captures what it means to be an imam.
Yes.
It's more than just delivering sermons. It's about being there for people.
It is.
Listening and understanding their needs.
Yes.
And then guiding them.
It is.
Yeah, that's a beautiful way to put it.
It is.
Yeah.
So he served as an imam in Egypt.
Okay.
And then had these brief stints working in other countries.
Okay.
He didn't go into detail about where.
Okay.
But one thing is clear.
Yeah.
The sheikh is deeply passionate about Islamic education, particularly for children.
I mean, that's so important, isn't it?
It is.
To nurture faith from a young age. It's so important.
It is.
And to help young Muslims understand their faith in the modern world.
Yes.
It's crucial.
He believes that imams play a critical role in developing these educational programs tailored to specific communities, especially in the West.
So it's not a one-size-fits-all approach.
No.
Got it.
He emphasized the importance of creating age-appropriate curricula that draw upon these relevant Islamic teachings and traditions.
Right, making it relatable to their lives.
Yes.
So important.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he draws this contrast between the structured, progressive nature of education within the Al-Azhar system with the challenges of designing programs for the diverse Muslim communities in the West.
Oh, I see.
In the West, you have people from all sorts of backgrounds and cultures,
Yeah.
and levels of religious understanding.
It's like a puzzle.
It's a puzzle.
Trying to find the right fit for everyone.
Exactly.
That's a challenge that goes beyond Islam, though.
It does.
It's a broader issue
Yeah.
in religious education across the board.
Yes.
We need to adapt our teaching methods
We do.
to engage people from all these different backgrounds. It's
Yeah.
important.
For sure.
Yeah.
And the Sheikh delved into the unique challenges faced by Muslim youth
Yeah.
growing up in the West.
It's a different world
It is.
than what their parents might have experienced.
Exactly. And he emphasized how important it is to preserve that connection to their native language and culture.
Absolutely.
Losing that connection, he said, could lead to feelings of alienation
I can see that.
and disconnect.
That's a concern for all immigrant communities.
It is.
Finding that balance between integration
Yeah.
and preserving your heritage.
Yes.
It's tricky.
It is.
Yeah.
He gave this poignant example
Okay.
of a child raised primarily in English,
Mm-hmm.
struggling to communicate with relatives
Oh, yeah.
when visiting their parents' home country.
I've seen that happen.
Yeah.
It's heartbreaking.
It is. And he highlighted the need for what he called brain programs.
Brain programs.
I love that.
That's
I
interesting.
love that term.
It's like intentionally creating a mindset
It is.
that embraces both
Yes.
your heritage
Yeah.
and your present culture.
Yes.
That's brilliant.
It is.
Yeah.
And this leads us to a broader conversation
Okay.
about the challenges and adaptations
Mm.
facing Muslim communities in the West.
Right. Because it's not always easy.
It's not.
Yeah.
And the Sheikh highlighted these two key Islamic principles.
Okay.
Maruna,
Maruna.
which is flexibility,
Okay.
and the balance
Hmm.
between worldly pursuits
Hmm.
and the hereafter.
Right. So you can live in this world,
Yes,
but not lose sight of your spiritual goals.
exactly.
Those are such important principles
Sure.
for navigating a secular society.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he emphasized this idea
Yeah.
of gradual, consistent religious education for children.
I like that.
Right? The process.
It is.
Right.
Not a race.
Yeah, he actually quoted the Quranic verse
Oh, wow.
about encouraging one's family to pray and being patient in that process.
Oh, that's beautiful.
It is beautiful.
It's about nurturing faith over time.
Yes.
Recognizing that it's a journey,
It is
not a destination.
Exactly.
That aligns perfectly with the Quran.
It does, yeah.
It's about compassion and gradualism
Yes.
when it comes to faith.
It is. And his advice for parents
What's that?
was to encourage even small acts of religious practice,
Okay.
like attending Quran classes at the mosque
Yeah.
to help cultivate that connection to faith.
Starting small,
Yes.
building those habits.
It's the little things.
Yeah.
It's those small steps.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It does.
Yeah.
But when it comes to teenagers,
Oh,
he encouraged parents to shift from a purely authoritative
yeah,
approach
yeah.
to one of guidance, mentorship, and companionship, isn't it?
Especially during those teenage years
Yeah.
where they're figuring out who they are.
Yeah.
Building trust is so crucial.
It is.
Yeah.
He even suggested that parents might need to call in reinforcements,
Reinforce.
meaning the
Like
imam,
the imam.
someone who might be able to connect with teenagers in ways that parents sometimes struggle to.
I see, because the imam can offer
Yes.
a different perspective.
Yes.
Yeah.
And relate to their experiences in a different way.
Right. They can help bridge that gap
They can.
between the generations.
Yes,
That's so valuable.
it is.
Yeah.
So let's address a sensitive topic.
Okay.
The phenomenon of Muslims leaving Islam in the West,
Right.
and conversely, individuals in the West choosing to embrace Islam.
Interesting.
It's a two-way street.
It is.
Yeah.
It reflects how fluid religious identity can be,
It does.
especially in a globalized world.
Exactly.
People are exposed to so many different beliefs.
They are. And the Sheikh observed that those who come to the West with overly romanticized expectations,
Oh, yeah.
they're more likely to experience a disconnect
Right.
and potentially abandon their religious and cultural moorings.
Because reality never quite matches those expectations.
Right. It's like they're expecting a utopia.
Yeah. And when it doesn't live up to that,
Right.
their whole worldview can be shaken.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he emphasized the importance of engaging with Western society
Okay.
through a critical yet appreciative lens.
So not just blindly accepting or rejecting it,
Right.
but really thinking critically
Yes.
about what works and what doesn't.
Yes.
That's a balanced perspective.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he made a thought-provoking point.
Oh, what's that?
He believes that the decision to leave Islam is often rooted
Yeah.
in personal struggles and challenges,
Okay.
rather than any inherent flaw in the teachings of Islam itself.
Right. So it's not about blaming religion.
No,
It's
no.
about understanding the individual's journey.
Yes.
What are they going through?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a really important point.
It is.
Yeah.
So what about the other side of the coin?
Right.
What draws people in the West to Islam?
I mean, that's a complex question.
It is.
It could be personal connections,
Yeah.
intellectual curiosity, a
Yeah.
search for meaning, or even that sense of community that many find within
Yes.
Muslim communities.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the Sheikh suggested
Yeah.
that it often comes down to witnessing that inner strength,
Okay.
resilience, and contentment
Yeah.
that many Muslims embody.
Right. It's like they see a different way of living
Yes.
that resonates with them.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he contrasted this with the consumerist culture
Yeah.
of the West, where happiness is so often equated with material possessions.
Right. It's all about getting more.
Yes.
More stuff, more status.
Yes.
Never really feeling satisfied.
Yeah. And Islamic teachings emphasize finding contentment
Yeah.
in your relationship with God,
Right.
appreciating the blessings in your life.
It's a different set of values.
It is.
Yeah.
And he sees that inner peace and contentment as this powerful magnet.
That makes sense.
People are drawn to it.
Right.
It's like an alternative
Yeah.
to the anxieties and uncertainties.
Right. Because consumerism doesn't really lead to happiness.
Right.
Does it?
It doesn't.
No.
No.
It just leads to wanting more.
Yeah, wanting more. It's
Yeah.
like this endless cycle.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because he highlighted the importance of not just blindly rejecting Western society,
Okay.
but engaging with it critically
Right.
and finding that balance.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
It's about taking the best of both worlds,
Yeah.
not getting
Yeah.
caught up in extremes.
exactly.
Yeah.
And it's interesting how he linked that idea
Mm-hmm.
to personal struggles
Right.
in the decision to leave Islam.
Yeah.
It's not always about finding fault with the faith itself.
Right. Sometimes it's about what's happening in people's lives.
Yeah, exactly.
Their own personal challenges.
Yes,
Yeah, that's a really valuable insight.
it is.
Yeah.
So let's shift gears a bit and talk about
Okay.
what draws people in the West to Islam.
It's a fascinating question.
It is.
There are so many different factors.
There are.
It could be personal connections,
Mm-hmm.
intellectual curiosity,
Yeah.
a search for meaning,
Yeah.
a sense of community
Yeah.
that many find in Islam.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the Sheikh suggested
Yeah.
it often comes down to witnessing that inner strength and resilience
Mm-hmm.
and contentment that many Muslims embody.
It's like they see a different way of being
Yes.
that appeals to them.
Yes.
A way of finding peace
Yep.
and purpose.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he contrasted this with the consumerist culture
Right.
of the West.
Where happiness is all about acquiring things.
It is.
Yeah.
And he saw that inner peace and contentment as a magnet.
I see that.
Yeah,
It makes sense.
it does. It's like a counter narrative to that consumerist culture.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like they see something authentic.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's fascinating how he kind of tied that observation to people leaving Islam too.
Oh, yeah. What did he say about that?
He suggested it's often more about those personal struggles,
Okay.
not necessarily a flaw in the faith itself.
Right. It's about understanding the individual's context,
Yes.
their own journey.
It is.
Yeah. That's important.
So let's flip the script.
Okay.
What about those drawn to Islam in the West?
That's interesting.
What do you think draws them in?
I mean, from what we've discussed, it seems like it could be that inner peace,
Yes.
that contentment they see in Muslims.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like a counter narrative to consumerism.
Right.
Yeah.
It challenges that idea that happiness comes from material possessions.
It does.
Yeah.
And the Sheikh suggested
Yeah.
that witnessing this inner strength,
Mm-hmm.
this resilience
Yeah.
in many Muslims
Yeah.
is a powerful factor.
Yeah. It makes sense.
It does,
Yeah.
because they're seeing an alternative
Right.
to that constant striving.
To those anxieties.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's like they're finding a different path
exactly.
to happiness.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
It is.
Yeah.
It's like a different definition of happiness.
It is.
Yeah.
It's not about what you have. It's
Exactly.
about how you live.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's about that inner peace.
Exactly.
And the Sheikh emphasized that.
Yeah.
It's not just about blindly accepting or rejecting Western society,
Yeah.
but engaging with it
Yeah.
critically.
And finding that balance.
Yes.
Taking the best of both worlds.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think what's interesting is how he tied that idea to personal struggles.
Okay.
And the decision to leave Islam.
Right.
It's not always about finding fault with the faith.
It's about understanding what people are going through.
Yes.
Yeah.
Their personal challenges. It's a nuanced perspective.
It is.
Yeah.
So let's shift gears a bit and talk about what draws people in the West to Islam.
Yeah. What do you think it is?
Well, it's a complex question.
It is.
Right, but it could be personal connections.
Yeah, definitely.
Intellectual curiosity, a search for meaning.
Absolutely.
Even a sense of community.
Right.
Like many find within Islam.
Yeah.
And the Sheikh suggested that it often comes down to witnessing.
Okay.
That inner strength and resilience.
Right.
And contentment.
It's like they see
a
different way of life.
Yes.
Yeah.
That really resonates with them.
And it's attractive.
It is.
Yeah.
It's attractive because they see a different way of being that appeals to them.
A way of finding peace in a chaotic world.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he contrasted this with the consumerist culture of the West.
Right, where it's all about getting more stuff, more status, and never feeling satisfied.
Exactly.
Always wanting more.
It's this endless cycle.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the Sheikh saw that inner peace and contentment as this powerful magnet.
I can see that.
Drawing people in.
Yeah. It makes sense.
It's like they're looking for an alternative to that anxiety and uncertainty that often comes with that consumerist lifestyle.
It's like a different definition.
Yes.
Of happiness.
It is. It's not about what you have.
Right.
It's about how you live.
Exactly.
It's about finding that inner peace.
Absolutely.
And that sense of purpose.
Yeah. And that can be really powerful.
It can.
Yeah.
And it's interesting how he talked about not just blindly rejecting or accepting Western society, but engaging with it critically.
And finding that balance.
Yes.
Taking the best of both worlds.
Exactly.
Not getting caught up in extremes.
So it's about finding that middle ground.
Absolutely.
And it's interesting how he connected that idea to personal struggles and the decision to leave Islam.
Yeah.
It's not always about finding fault with the faith itself.
It's about understanding what people are going through, their own personal challenges.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So let's shift gears a bit.
Okay.
And talk about what draws people in the West to Islam.
Yeah.
What do you think those factors are?
Well, I think it's a complex question.
It is.
With a lot of different answers.
Right.
But I think some of the key factors are personal connections.
Right.
People who know Muslims and see something in their lives that they admire.
Yes.
And then there's intellectual curiosity, people who are drawn to the teachings of Islam and want to learn more.
And then there's the search for meaning. People who are looking for something more in their lives.
A deeper purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's the sense of community that many find in Islam.
That's a big one.
It is.
Yeah.
So those are just some of the factors.
Definitely.
And I think the Sheikh suggested that it often comes down to witnessing that inner strength and resilience and contentment that many Muslims embody.
Yeah, it's like they see something different, something authentic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That resonates with them.
Absolutely.
And they're drawn to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
It does.
Yeah.
Because they see a different way of being.
Yeah.
A different way of living.
Absolutely.
And that can be very appealing.
It can be very appealing, especially in a world that often feels very chaotic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he contrasted this with that consumerist culture of the West.
Where happiness is all about acquiring things and status.
It is.
Yeah.
And he saw that inner peace and contentment as this powerful magnet.
I can see that.
Yeah. Drawing people in.
It's like a counter narrative to that consumerist culture.
It's a different set of values.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's fascinating how he connected that observation.
Yeah. What did he say?
To people leaving Islam too.
Okay.
He suggested that it's not always about finding fault with the faith.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's about those personal struggles and challenges that people are going through.
It's about understanding their individual journey.
It is.
What they're going through.
Exactly.
That's a really important point.
Because it's not always about the religion itself.
It's about the human experience.
Yes, it's about understanding the individual's context.
Absolutely.
So let's shift gears a bit.
Okay.
And talk about what draws people in the West to Islam.
What do you think are some of those factors?
Well, I think it's a complex question
It is.
with a lot of different answers.
Absolutely.
But I think some of the common factors are personal connections.
Right.
People knowing Muslims.
Yeah.
And seeing something in their lives.
Something admirable, something authentic.
And then there's intellectual curiosity.
Yeah.
People who are drawn to the teachings of Islam.
The theology.
Philosophy.
Yeah.
And then there's the search for meaning.
Right.
People who are looking for...
Searching more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A deeper purpose.
A deeper connection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, that sense of community that many find in Islam.
It's a big one.
It is.
That sense of belonging.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So those are just some of the factors.
Definitely.
And I think what the Sheikh emphasized was that it often comes down to witnessing that inner strength.
That inner peace.
Yeah.
That contentment.
Yes.
That resilience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That many Muslims embody.
Yeah. And it's like they see a different way of being.
A different way of living.
A different way of approaching life.
Yeah.
That's really appealing.
And it's appealing because they see a different path to happiness.
Yeah.
A different way of finding fulfillment.
Absolutely.
And that's powerful.
It's incredibly powerful.
And he contrasted this with that consumerist culture of the West.
Where it's all about acquiring things.
Yes.
Getting more.
More.
Exactly.
And that never-ending pursuit.
Yeah, it's a never-ending pursuit.
Of more.
Of more.
And it's interesting because he also talked about that idea of not just blindly rejecting or accepting Western society.
Engaging with it critically.
Yeah.
Finding that balance.
Taking
the best of both worlds.
Exactly.
Not getting caught up in extremes.
So it's about finding that middle ground.
Absolutely.
And it's interesting how he tied that to personal struggles.
Okay.
And the decision to leave Islam.
It's not always about rejecting the faith.
Yeah.
It's often about what's happening in people's lives.
Yeah.
Their own personal challenges.
Their personal struggles.
Yeah. That's a really valuable insight.
It is.
Yeah.
So let's shift gears a bit.
Okay.
And talk about what draws people in the West to Islam.
I think that's a fascinating question.
It is.
Yeah.
What are some of the factors that draw people to Islam?
Well, I think there are many factors.
There are.
And it's different for everyone.
Right.
But I think some of the common factors are personal connections. People knowing Muslims and seeing something admirable in their lives.
Something authentic.
Something authentic.
Yeah.
Something that resonates with them.
And then there's intellectual curiosity.
Yeah.
People who are drawn to the teachings of Islam.
The theology.
The
history.
The history.
Yeah. And then there's that search for meaning. People who are looking for
something deep.
The deeper purpose.
Yeah.
A deeper connection.
A deeper connection.
And of course, there's the sense of community.
That's a big one.
That's a big one.
That sense of belonging.
It is.
Yeah.
So those are just some of the factors.
Those are just some of them.
And what I think the Sheikh was emphasizing was that it often comes down to witnessing that inner strength and resilience.
That's the inner peace.
And contentment
Yeah.
that many Muslims embody.
It's like they see a different way of life.
They do.
Yeah.
A different way of being.
Right.
And that's appealing.
It's very appealing.
Especially
in a world that often feels chaotic.
Absolutely.
And he contrasted this with that consumerist culture of the West.
Right, where happiness is all about acquiring things and status.
It is.
And it's a never-ending pursuit.
It is.
Of more.
Or more.
Yeah.
And he saw that inner peace and contentment as this powerful magnet.
It makes sense.
Drawing people in.
Yeah, it's like they're looking for an alternative to that anxiety and uncertainty that often comes with that consumerist lifestyle.
It's like they're looking for a different path to happiness.
Yeah.
A different definition of happiness.
Exactly.
And that can be really powerful.
It's incredibly powerful.
So it's interesting how he tied that observation to people leaving Islam as well.
It's not always about rejecting the faith.
It's not all.
It's often about what's happening in their lives.
Their own personal challenges.
Their own personal struggles.
And that's a really valuable insight.
It is.
So let's shift gears a bit.
Okay.
And talk about what draws people in the West to Islam.
What do you think draws people to Islam?
Well, I think it's a complex question.
It is.
With a lot of different answers.
Right.
But I think some of the common factors are personal connections.
Definitely.
People knowing Muslims.
Yeah.
and seeing something admirable,
something authentic.
something authentic,
Yeah.
something that resonates with them.
And then there's that intellectual curiosity.
Right.
People drawn to the teachings of Islam,
To the theology,
the philosophy,
the history.
the history.
Yeah,
And then there's that search for meaning,
absolutely.
people looking for a deeper purpose.
A deeper connection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's the sense of community
Mm-hmm.
that many find in Islam.
That's a big one.
That sense of belonging.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the sheikh suggested,
That it often comes down to
Oh.
witnessing that inner strength
yeah,
and resilience
of inner peace.
and contentment
Yeah.
that many Muslims embody.
It's like they see a different way of life,
Yeah.
a different way of approaching life.
And that's appealing,
It's very appealing.
especially in a world
Mhm.
that often feels chaotic.
Absolutely.
And he contrasted that
Yeah.
with the consumerist culture of the West.
Where happiness is all about
Yeah.
acquiring things.
Acquiring things.
Needing more.
More.
Exactly.
And that never-ending pursuit
Yeah, never-ending pursuit.
of more.
Of more.
And he saw that inner peace
Mhm.
and contentment
Yeah,
as this powerful magnet.
I can see that.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
Drawing people in.
Yeah. It's like they're looking for an alternative
Exactly.
to that anxiety and uncertainty that often comes with that
Mm-hmm.
consumerist lifestyle.
And it's like they're looking for a different path
Right.
to happiness.
Yeah,
A different definition
exactly.
of happiness.
Yeah,
And that's powerful.
it's incredibly powerful.
And what was interesting was how he tied that observation
Yeah,
to people leaving Islam, too.
right,
He suggested it's not always about
right.
rejecting the faith,
Yeah.
but sometimes it's about
Mm-hmm.
those personal struggles and challenges
Yeah.
that people are going through.
It's about understanding their individual journey,
It is.
what they're going through.
And that's a really valuable insight.
It is.
Yeah. So let's shift gears a bit
Okay.
and talk about what draws people
Yeah.
in the West to Islam.
I think that's a fascinating question.
It is.
What do you think it is?
Well, I think there are many factors.
Right.
And it's different for everyone.
Yeah.
But some of the common factors, I think,
Yeah.
are personal connections.
Definitely.
People who know Muslims
Mm-hmm.
and see something in their lives,
Something admirable.
something admirable.
Something authentic
Yeah.
that resonates with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's the intellectual curiosity.
Right?
People who are drawn to the teachings of Islam.
The theology.
The theology.
Philosophy.
Philosophy, yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's the search for meaning.
Absolutely.
People who are looking for a deeper purpose.
A deeper connection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, that sense of community
That's a big one.
that many find in Islam.
That sense of belonging.
Yes.
Yeah.
So those are just some of the factors.
Those are just some of the factors.
And I think what the Sheikh emphasized
Yeah.
was that it often comes down
Yeah.
to witnessing that inner strength
Right.
and resilience
That inner peace.
and contentment
Mm-hmm.
that many Muslims embody.
Yeah. And it's like
Yeah.
they see a different way of life,
They do.
a different way of being.
Different way of approaching life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's appealing,
It's very appealing.
especially in a world that often feels chaotic.
Right.
Yeah.
And he contrasted that with the consumerist culture
Right.
of the West.
Where it's all about acquiring things.
Getting more.
Getting more.
More.
Exactly.
And that never-ending pursuit
Yeah, a never-ending pursuit
of more.
of more.
And he saw that inner peace
Mm-hmm.
and contentment
Yeah,
as this powerful magnet
I can see that.
drawing people in.
Yeah, it's like they're looking for an alternative to
Exactly.
that anxiety and uncertainty
Yeah.
that often comes with that consumerist lifestyle.
It's like they're looking for a different path
Yeah.
to happiness.
Yeah,
A different definition
exactly.
of happiness.
Yeah,
And that's powerful.
it's incredibly powerful.
So it's interesting how he tied that observation
Okay,
to people leaving Islam too.
you're right.
He suggested it's not always about rejecting the faith,
Yeah,
but sometimes it's about those personal struggles and challenges
Yeah.
that people are going through.
it's about understanding their individual journey,
Yeah.
what they're going through.
And that's a really valuable insight.
It is.
Yeah. So let's shift gears a bit
Okay.
and talk about what draws people
Yeah.
in the West to Islam.
I think that's a fascinating question.
It is.
What do you think are some of those factors?
Well, I think it's a complex question
It is.
with a lot of different answers.
Absolutely.
But I think some of the common factors
Oh, yeah.
are personal connections.
Right.
People knowing Muslims
hmm
and seeing something admirable.
Something authentic
Yeah.
that resonates with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's that intellectual curiosity,
Right.
people drawn to the teachings of Islam.
The theology.
Yeah.
The
I mean,
philosophy.
history.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then there's the search for meaning.
Right.
People looking for a deeper purpose.
A deeper connection.
Yeah. And of course, there's the sense of community
Mm-hmm.
that many find in Islam.
That sense of belonging.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think what the Sheikh emphasized
Mm-hmm.
was that it often comes down
Okay.
to witnessing
Yeah.
that inner strength and resilience
That inner peace.
and contentment
that contentment.
that many Muslims embody.
It's like they see a different way of life,
They do.
a different way of being.
A different way of approaching life.
And that can be really appealing.
It can be very appealing.
Especially in a world
Yeah.
that often feels chaotic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he contrasted that
Mm-hmm.
with the consumerist culture of the West.
Right. Where happiness
Right.
is all about acquiring things.
Getting more.
Getting more.
More.
Exactly.
And that never-ending pursuit
Yeah. A never-ending pursuit.
of more. And he saw that inner peace
Hmm.
and contentment
Yeah.
as this powerful magnet
It makes sense.
drawing people in.
Yeah. It's like they're looking for an alternative
Exactly.
to that anxiety and uncertainty
Yeah.
that often comes with that consumerist lifestyle.
And it's like they're looking for a different path
Right.
to happiness.
Yeah.
A different definition of happiness.
Exactly.
And that's powerful.
It's incredibly powerful.
So it's interesting how he connected that observation to people leaving Islam too.
Right.
He suggested it's not always about rejecting the faith,
Right.
but sometimes it's about those personal struggles
Okay.
that people are going through.
It's about understanding their journey
Yes,
or context,
yes.
what they're experiencing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we've talked a lot about the Sheikh's journey,
Yeah.
his insights on faith and cultural exchange.
Yeah.
What resonated most with you?
Well, I think what really struck me
Mm.
was how the Sheikh navigated those two worlds.
Yeah.
You know, the traditional Islamic education
Yeah.
and the modern realities of Western society, and found a way to bridge them.
He did.
He didn't shy away from the challenges.
No, he didn't.
He embraced them.
He did.
Yeah.
It speaks to that idea of maruna,
Right, that flexibility.
the flexibility.
Yeah. He adapted.
Yeah.
And he grew.
Absolutely.
What about you?
Well, I keep thinking about his advice
Yeah.
to parents raising Muslim kids in the West.
Yeah.
That shift
Mm.
from authority to mentorship,
Oh, yeah.
almost becoming companions
It's beautiful.
to their teenagers,
It is.
really resonated with me.
It's about building trust,
Yes.
understanding, so that these young people can be confident
Yes.
in their faith.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's about nurturing their faith, not imposing it.
Absolutely.
And I also think about his observation
Yeah.
about those who come to the West with these overly romanticized expectations.
Oh, yeah.
It's like a reminder to approach different cultures with a balanced perspective,
Oh, yeah.
to not make those snap judgments, and to recognize both the strengths and weaknesses of each culture.
Yeah, it's about seeing the nuances.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And what was so interesting
Mm-hmm.
was how he linked that idea
Okay.
to people leaving Islam,
Right.
suggesting it's not always about finding fault
Mm-hmm.
with the faith itself.
It's about understanding their struggles,
Yes.
their challenges.
It is.
What they're going through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And on the flip side,
Yeah.
he believed that those drawn to Islam
Okay.
in the West
Mm-hmm.
were often attracted to that inner strength and contentment
Right.
that they saw in so many Muslims.
Yeah, it's like they're seeing an alternative
They are.
to that consumerist culture
Yeah.
that defines happiness through possessions.
Exactly.
It's a different way of finding meaning
It is.
and purpose.
It is.
Yeah, it's about that inner peace.
It is.
That connection